Welcome to Reddit Tea Time. My husband and I bought a house when rates were very low in a less than desirable location and well under our means. My siblings were less than impressed with the location and had said they would never live in such a city, but good for us. Fast forward a year. The siblings that had originally judged the location moved in under the pretense that they needed a place to stay until they could get back on their feet. They also brought their families, so space was very cramped. Initially, they could not pay into the mortgage, but after a few months we got into a groove and they started to contribute to the rent. My husband and I paid for the bills and about 50 to 70% of the mortgage, and I saved their rent money to help in their eventual move. Fast forward another 2 years and my significant other and I moved for work. We ended up purchasing a second home and left the first for my family to use until they got on their feet. This unfortunately meant they had to pay the full mortgage amount plus their bills as well. We refinanced to lower the payment and make it more manageable, but they have never paid the full amount and I ended up paying the remainder. Over the next 2.5 years, my credit cards have maxed out, and my credit has taken a significant hit from making up the difference. I'll also note that after buying the second home, I quit my job to care for my loved one. This was intentional. I've always been calculated with big life decisions, which is why I opted to have children later in life once I had secured an alternative form of income other than working. My intention was to use our first house as a rental property, though for obvious reasons this didn't work out as planned. Well, now we need to move again, and we've decided to sell our first home as it has the most equity. Unfortunately, my siblings and their families are faced with the incredibly difficult task of finding a home at the price point they were renting my home for, and now I think they're all upset with me, and maybe rightfully so. I've offered assistance, but have yet to hear from them. Their silence has always been an issue as well, because too many times have simple fixes around the house ballooned into more complex and expensive issues due to their lack of communication. I feel very bad for putting them in this position, but we simply can't afford to house them any longer. They have no disabilities that stop them from getting jobs. They simply don't have the skills, motivation, or education to get high-paying jobs. They also have a preference for living in more expensive locations than what they can reasonably afford, and they've made terrible financial decisions in the last few years. Think buying a new car, then trading it in a couple of years later for another newer car, maintaining an expensive habit, etc. I'm also reluctant to allow them to stay in my second home, as that mortgage is higher than the one they already weren't affording. So basically, am I the bonehead? Edit. Just to be clear, the house is in the midst of its sale. I understand it's a necessary action at this point. Not the bonehead. They're just pissed that they have to stop freeloading off you and haven't made any effort to secure their finances or housing situation. How many siblings are living in this house? It sounds like there's at least 4 adults and they can't between them save money. Not your problem. You said they are not disabled or incapable of working, but just have bad habits and lack of motivation. That's not your responsibility. It never was. It was kind of you to help, at first anyway, but they have been taking advantage of you. Sorry to say, but it sounds like you have been enabling them to continue having bad habits and lack of motivation. Not the bonehead, and let them solve their own problems. You've done well enough and then some and then more, too much. You're the bonehead to your husband and to your own children. Every penny you have spent subsidizing your ungrateful siblings' lives is destabilizing your own children's futures. I would have divorced you years ago. Obviously not the bonehead for finally pulling the leashes off. I, female 27, am in a bit of a dilemma and could really use some advice. I've been seeing this guy for a couple months, and we decided to go to a nice high-end restaurant for a date. Initially, I was going to wear a nice dark blue dress that I like to wear out, but he asked me to wear a different white dress that I had shown him once as it matched his outfit. I've never had a guy ask me this. The white dress in question was a gift from my late grandmother and was quite expensive, so so I was reluctant but agreed and just asked that we didn't go anywhere after, where I might spill something on it or otherwise mess it up. He mentioned clubbing after dinner, which is why I said that. I didn't want to risk messing the dress up, and he said we could just go to dinner and I could change out of it before doing anything else. Great. However, the evening took a turn for the worse when he accidentally spilled his red wine all over my dress. He had gotten an unexpected call, and when he tried to quickly mute his ringer, his elbow hit his glass, and it spilled all in the lap area of my dress before I could react. It was completely drenched and stained. He was apologetic at the time, and I tried to be cool about it, but inside I was devastated, especially since I had mentioned specifically how I wanted to be careful wearing it. Later, I mentioned to him that the dress was very expensive and asked if he'd be willing to help with the cost of cleaning or replacing it. To get it professionally cleaned and the stain removed would cost $100, which I asked him to pay half of. To my surprise, he got quite defensive. He argued that it was an accident and that I was being unreasonable for expecting him to pay for something like that, and that it was my fault for wearing it out knowing that it could have happened. I feel like it's a matter of principle. Yes, it was an accident, but the dress is ruined and it was extremely sentimental to me, not to mention a valuable dress. He thinks I'm being materialistic and making a big deal out of nothing. Now I'm not sure how to feel about his reaction. Am I the bonehead for expecting him to cover the cost? Whatever happened to chivalry? Not the bonehead. He should offer as he spilled his wine, regardless if it was accidental. That's just good manners. I'm old. In my older way of looking at this, it should have never been necessary for you to ask. A man would, without provocation, take it upon himself to make you whole again. So they should have just asked how much and covered the cost, no questions asked, or better yet advised you which cleaner or specialist he would trust, and that he will handle it for you. Especially if you're in the dating or courtship phase. Not the bonehead. I don't see this guy as a keeper if he values going to a high-end restaurant, but not covering costs his accident incurred. Not the bonehead, but now you know he is a bonehead so you can kick him to the curb. Made you change your dress, and then when he stained it, it was your fault. Dump him. My partner, 44 male, and I, 35 female, have been together for 5 years. He is still close with his ex-wife, and they share a teenager. She is constantly around, and I have said that I wish we could have better boundaries. She will just show up whenever she wants, and they talk about stuff regarding us, and he still feels the need to take care of her when she is not feeling well. I get wanting to co-parent, but I do not like them talking about us or her just showing up unannounced whenever she wants. He just says that is how she is, and I need to deal. My issue is not her coming over, but doing it unannounced. We have 2 young children, but they try to make all of the decisions for all of the kids. I've been asking to move closer to family for a while because it is hard to raise 2 young G kids with no help, not even daycare. Anyway, her mom was very sick, and she had to go out of town to take care of her. She decided to get rid of her apartment, which has always been within 15 minutes of us, and leave her cat with us. Now she is coming back, and I was told that she was going to stay with a friend when she returns, and was told this since before she left. Now that she is coming back in less than a week, I finally find out she is staying with us indefinitely and has not talked to her friend. I only found this out because I pushed to get an answer. I felt like I was being lied to by weird cryptic comments he would make to her on the phone. We have 3 kids and a large dog in our rental house. Things are already crowded and stressful, and I just wanted to know what was going on. Well, my partner is treating me like a jerk because I am upset that we didn't have a conversation about this. Apparently, she just decided she is staying with us and didn't ask him either, but told him. I find this hard to believe and is part of what makes me so angry about the situation. I don't mind helping out, but internally I like to have a plan. I don't know, and maybe the big life events are upsetting to me. Am I the bonehead for this? Edit. I talked to him last night to put my foot down, like many of you suggested. He said he is stuck between a rock and hard place. Either he has to deal with me being upset, or he has to deal with her. Since she is still coming tomorrow, I guess we know which he chose. Looking into next steps now since I have to go to a different state to get to my parents. Thank you for all of your advice. Time to wake up and face the facts. You're not his partner and she's not his ex. You're his concubine, and she's still his wife. He only divorced her on paper because actual polygamy is illegal in most, if not all Western countries. But that's 100% what he's going for here. HE double hockey sticks? No. Get a lawyer and get out before they leave you homeless with no access to your kids. If she moves in, me and the kids are moving out. You didn't sign up to be part of a throuple. I get having a great and friendly co-parenting relationship is most people's goals, but neither she nor your partner are respecting any type of boundaries you try to have. Making decisions together about your kids? Absolutely not. Turning up unannounced? No, she can call text first like everyone else. She's the one apparently deciding she is staying with you. Your partner is aware they can tell her no, that she's not staying indefinitely, that she's not staying at all? 'Cause I don't believe that he didn't know or this wasn't actually the plan. I don't know how long she was out of town, but unless it was months, I don't see why she gave her place up, especially knowing she'd be returning at some point. Not the bonehead. I got married in August this year. We eloped so we didn't have a wedding celebration and both of our families were upset by our decision. Originally, we were supposed to get married in October, but I asked my husband if we could elope because there was a lot of family drama early in the year, which made me not want a big wedding. Also, planning the wedding was so stressful for me. My in-laws convinced me to agree to let them plan a proper wedding for us. I accepted because it felt like an olive branch from them, after a lot of drama. The wedding was supposed to be next July, but I found out I'm pregnant a few days ago, and now I don't think a July wedding is a great idea. I told my husband I wanted to cancel it again, and he spoke to his family yesterday, but they're not happy with my decision. They think I'm being irrational and keep bringing up the fact that they've already booked everything for the wedding. My husband offered to pay them back, but his younger brother said it wasn't about the money, but the fact that I was being ridiculous and that he, my husband, let me lead him around by his D, whatever that means. My mother-in-law suggested we move the wedding up, but I'm not sure if I want that because of how some of the family are being now. Am I the bonehead? Not the bonehead. You already eloped. Stop letting the in-laws push you into a wedding for them. You don't want a wedding. Just make it a hard no. You're the bonehead. It sounds like they worked really hard on this, and they were really generous. You are being kind of the bonehead here. I am sure you are lovely, and it may just be hormones. But you want to cancel a free wedding next year because you don't like how some people are treating you now, because you don't want it when they chose, and even though they have offered to move it, you still don't like their attitude about it. Aside from you not liking the pushback, what is the real issue with moving the wedding? You could move it forward so your bump is less obvious. Personally, I hate seeing a pregnant woman wearing white at a church wedding. Is there anything less virginal than that? Just my opinion, don't shoot me down. But what about putting it back, so the baby could be part of the wedding too? This family wants you to be a part of theirs, and that is why they are doing this. Shutting them out like this is making a rod for your own back later down the line. For example, free babysitting on tap. They are trying to fit in with your plans. You can afford to be a little more gracious about it. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next Reddit story. Take care.